This is the Sea Vixen F.A.W. a British premium in War Thunder at Tier 5, BR 8.3 and costing players 8,560 Golden Eagles. In this video I will be giving an overview of the Sea Vixen's history, weapons and its flight performance. The Sea Vixen began life as the de Havilland DH-110 and was notably the first British twin-seat aircraft to break the speed of sound. However, when attempting to replicate this at the 1952 Farnborough Air Show, a DH-110 prototype broke up, causing the deaths of 31 spectators. Shortly thereafter, the Royal Air Force decided to opt for the Gloucester Javelin rather than the DH-110, and the Royal Navy had already snubbed the design a few years prior, instead opting for the more proven de Havilland Sea Venom. However, the Royal Navy then decided that they were in fact interested in the design, and in June of 1955, prototype XF-828 was rolled out of the factory for carrier trials, which would be undertaken in 1956. Once these trials were completed, the final production version of the Sea Vixen was developed and started production in 1957, then entering service in mid-1959. The type would then serve in the Fleet Air Arm until 1972, at which point it was replaced by the American-designed F-4 Phantom. So the Sea Vixen in War Thunder, starting off with weapons, it notably has no guns, relying solely on air-to-air missiles for defense and offense in the air. The missiles available are the Firestreak seen in-game on the Javelin FAW-9 and the Red Top as seen on the English Electric Lightning F6. Up to 4 missiles can be carried by the Sea Vixen for solely air-to-air combat or alongside some air-to-ground payloads. As far as stats, I'm only going to focus on the Red Top as that is the more capable of the 2 available missiles. In-game, the Red Top has a flight range of 7.5 miles or roughly 12 kilometers. The missile has a maximum G overload of 16 G and a peak speed of 2.5 times the speed of sound. Both missiles available have an uncaged seeker, allowing for smoother launches which will increase the chances of success. Aside from its air-to-air missiles, the Sea Vixen has a variety of air-to-ground payload options, none of which have ballistic computer-assisted aiming. The aircraft can carry up to 4,000 pounds of standard late British bombs, as a combination of 500 pound and 1,000 pound bombs spread over 6 different pylons. Moving on to unguided rockets, the Sea Vixen actually has a few types available, although none of them are as effective as the American FFARs and Zunis or the French-built Snebs that are used on many later British aircraft. Firstly, the AP Mk.2 rockets are seen on some earlier Royal Navy aircraft, and in this case up to 24 can be carried. I personally would not use these as they lack any explosive filler, and as I understand it were designed to be used against submarines and not ground targets. The second type is the rather common RP3. This is used on a great many British aircraft in-game, with up to 16 being carried by the Sea Vixen. Each of these carries a 5.4 kilogram warhead with 60mm of penetration, so a solid hit to the top or the side of an enemy ground vehicle would have a good chance of doing some serious damage. The final rocket type available to the Sea Vixen is the RN rocket. These are a more modern type, being held inside rocket pods, with up to 144 being carried. These are, however, purely HE rockets with only 0.54 kilograms of explosive mass in each warhead and only 10mm of armor penetration. I suspect that these will be somewhat futile when being used against tanks, but will be useful against more lightly armored types such as SPAA vehicles and infantry fighting vehicles. The final weapon type on the Sea Vixen is air-to-ground missiles in the form of the AGM-12B Bullpup, again a familiar payload on similar aircraft such as the Blackburn Buccaneer and the Supermarine Scimitar. This is a well-known AGM at this point with a range of 5 miles or 8 kilometers with a 64 kilogram warhead. The Bullpup is of course a key guided missile, and up to 2 of these can be carried on the Sea Vixen's outermost pylons. The Sea Vixen is powered by a pair of Avon jet engines, each producing just over 5,000 kilograms of force. At sea level, the aircraft will stop accelerating at around 700 miles an hour or 1,130 kilometers per hour. Then, at an altitude of 20,000 feet, the aircraft reaches a top speed of 666 miles an hour or 1,070 kilometers per hour. The Sea Vixen is capable of surpassing the speed of sound, but only in a dive when at high altitude. Once you get below about 15,000 feet, the aircraft becomes incapable of passing the speed of sound. As far as maneuverability, I would say that it is certainly usable for defensive flying, but due to the lack of guns, dogfights with enemy aircraft would certainly not be advisable. Maintaining distance prior to engaging with air-to-air missiles would be my suggested approach. As for additional features, the Sea Vixen has a radar which can be used for target acquisition, although with the lack of radar-guided weapons, its role is fairly limited. The aircraft then also features a radar warning receiver, which could come in handy for evading enemy aircraft and enemy anti-aircraft vehicles. Unfortunately, the Sea Vixen does not get countermeasures, although at its 8.3 BR, missiles should not be a major issue. The Sea Vixen does get a detailed cockpit model, and overall the model is quite nice, and due to the cockpit's placement it features rather good left side visibility, although the right side is a bit more obstructed due to the radar operator's placement. At current, the Sea Vixen only has one additional skin, although there are already plenty of interesting user skins available for download on live.warthunder. Well, that more or less covers it for my overview of the de Havilland Sea Vixen F.A.W. 2. At current, I have the aircraft on a 7-day test drive, which will be ending fairly soon, although unfortunately I have not been able to take the aircraft into PvP matches such as Air RB due to a relatively unstable internet connection. Although, once I do have a more consistent internet connection, I do plan on purchasing the aircraft for myself and using it to finish grinding the few British jet aircraft that I do not yet own. Anyways though, that will be it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.